We on another day in the life of a designer. What we're gonna be talking about is why taste matters. First and foremost, make sure that you like and subscribe. Feel me? Sorry I couldn't be on the John last night. Just been tired as shit, bro. Been working 7-8 hours shifts. They've been having me do two people's work shifts worth of work. Plus, I've been doing my shit for, the fashion brand as well too. So, just been, a hassle this week. I apologize, but we here. We back on, the same schedule. We got more in store. So let's get into it. Taste isn't about having, expensive preferences. It's about developing the judgment to know what belongs, what doesn't, and why. What is taste? Can taste be taught, or is it something you're born with? Taste isn't talent. It isn't, copying, luxury brands. Taste isn't buying, expensive things. Taste is the ability to make intentional, creative decisions. You feel me? Why do, two designers, can they, actually use the same tools but create different types of work? And honestly, design is what you create. You feel what I'm saying? Taste is what you decide. How, you judge separates good designers from great ones. You feel me? Taste is built primarily through exposure. The question I really want to ask y'all today is, what are you feeding your creative eye every day? Because there's multiple ways to feed your creative eye. You know what I'm saying? There's ample inspiration as you walk through, you drive through, your city or town, the buildings, the people, the, different types of events you might go to, art, music, all these things apply, because at the end of the day, the more quality of work that you actually experience, the more your creative judgment develops. You feel me? The more it expands, the more that, you're willing to tap into. Your references become your creative vocabulary. Taste is the ability to edit. One of the biggest misconceptions designers aren't paid to add. They're paid to, decide. You feel me? Removing unnecessary details and knowing, when to stop. Choosing one strong idea instead of, 5 average ones. You know what I'm saying? Why? Restraint often creates stronger design than excess. Like they say, Rome was never built in a day. The more that you take time with your art, the more that you take time with your designs, and the more that you take time with developing your product, the more potent it's going to become, and the more that it's going to, do numbers in the marketplace. Does every element earn its place? You know what I'm saying? These are questions you got to ask yourself as far as the elements of what you are, adding to these design pieces. If I remove this, does this design improve? This goes back to similar to, designing without limits, but, the other live stream where we were talking about designer's eye. Taste creates consistency. Great brands don't look consistent by accident. Consistency comes from repeated, decisions that align with your philosophy, your vision, your goals for the brand. The overall collection you may be developing at the time. It all comes down to the color palettes, the typography, the silhouettes, like we've talked about, the photography and the photo shoots and video shoots, materials, the, tone of voice with, whoever is, the face, or, just within um, the features of the content, the, packaging. People recognize brands because they recognize patterns. You feel me? Taste requires humility. Improving your taste means accepting that not every idea is your best idea. Seeking throughout, like thought out feedback is important as well too. Revising your work, studying design history, being willing to change your mind when a stronger solution appears. The goal isn't to defend every idea, it's to find the best one. And that's what I feel like a lot of artists do, regardless if you're good or you're not. A lot of y'all be trying to defend your ideas. And I did it in my early years as well too. But when it really comes down to it, it's not even really worth it, because the thing is that you're supposed to be getting better. You're supposed to be getting better at your craft. You're supposed to be actually, trying to develop each and every day. So the main focus is, when you are designing something, taking constructive criticism, but also understanding when people are just hating. You got to be able to filter in and out good advice and bad advice. The goal isn't to, defend your idea, it's to find it. So developing your taste over time comes down to visiting museums and, galleries, to, analyzing why certain designs have, lasted for decades and, generations. Building a reference through, the library, sketching consistently, or, just designing period consistently, reviewing your old work, identifying what you'd improve today, spending more time observing, before creating. And that's something that I always did, as a kid, even as an adult. Spent a lot of time observing. I learned, from one of my classmates at Frederick Douglass in high school, Tyshauna. She was funny as shit. But ninth grade, she always used to tell me I used to talk too much. And then 10th grade, mid-year, she was like, Derek, why are you so quiet? It's like, yo, I'm just observing everything now. I'm just watching niggas. Because for real, you just watch how shit be going. You can learn a whole lot more than, talking or asking, a whole lot of questions. Because a lot of times people not even going to be really willing to give you the right answer anyway. So the best thing is observe, take it in, you feel me, take note, and then, any questions that you have, do the proper research. Don't feel fearful to ask who's around, but also keep in mind to do your own research as well too. What's one piece of design, fashion or otherwise, that changed how you think, changed how you put your work together? For me personally, it was my art classes. When I was back in about 5th grade, I started taking art. I always was, I guess you could say, doing arts and crafts type things, with my mom, and, just through the types of projects that they had us doing in school. So like, started dabbling in it more when I stopped playing the saxophone, and, it just kind of became a thing each year as I started to go through school, and helped me actually learn the different origins of art, different, niches within art, and, where I was able to find, my lane within art. How do you decide whether an idea is worth pursuing? For me personally, I actually have a lot of my, ideas written down, planned out. Some I kind of shuffle, in the mix between each other, but ultimately they're all in a chapter type list, to where each collection tells its own story based off of the overall story. You feel me? So pretty much I just kind of analyze the time, analyze, the topic, and go from there. Like I always say, when I'm creating things, I try to use a topic in order to, develop the art from there. So that way I can use the origin of the word in many different ways. So that way, you know what I'm saying, it aligns. What influences your creative taste the most? I would just say living a better life. As a kid, all the way up until I was about 12, 13, life was always good. You know what I'm saying? Always had, great clothes, good food. For the most part, I always had a nice house over my head, money in my pocket, and typically got just about everything I wanted. So when I lost all that, when my mom passed away, kind of showed me what, life was really about. If, you don't have certain things in place. So that's what influences me to, go so hard each and every day with developing my brand, but also just within my creative process as well too. Taste isn't about, impressing people. It's about developing the judgment to create work with clarity, purpose, and intention. I'm the type of person that moves with intent as well too within my work, within my person. You feel me? Within me. Just with it, everything I do in life is with intention and purpose. That's all we're trying to do here at Dreams of Ruler, is influence you to start living and visualizing your purpose. Every book you read, every building you admire, every conversation you have, every design you study shapes the decisions you'll make tomorrow. Great designers aren't remembered because, they had more ideas. They're remembered because they knew which ideas were worth bringing to life. And that's it. That's all it comes down to. You know what I'm saying? Putting together solid ideas that actually have, a story to it. Not necessarily preferences of taste. Because even luxury brands go back to the streets. You feel me? And even street go to the luxury. So it's just a matter of understanding who you are as a creative, understanding how you put shit together, understanding, what you like and you don't like, what you view as quality and what you view as not quality, but understanding what, your customer likes and, cherishes as well too. That helps build that consistency within that design style, design framework, and language that you are developing for yourself. You feel me? And like I've said, it's a process. It takes time. Like I didn't, become a fashion designer for my brand in one day. Like it took 7 years before that. It took me, going into a tailor shop, being mentored by somebody for, 4 months to see how the process works, just to get clothes made, just from a local standpoint. Then, seeing different fabrics, learning different fabrics, learning the thread counts, learning, color palettes, learning, colors, patterns, you know what I'm saying? Just shapes, typography, just different things like that. Just learning the elements of fashion and design that all coexist in order to make, something solid. And, like I said as well too, I also went to the library. I studied the business of fashion. I studied the industry. Studied all aspects, even, the goals that I wanted to, achieve in my life overall while pursuing this path. Like I say, you got to come up with a solid plan, do the research, execute that motherfucker, and then your dreams and goals come to fruition. It's like planting a seed. You feel me? Once you plant the seed, you gotta water that motherfucker. You gotta take care of it, make sure it's got proper lighting. You feel me? And you gotta consistently do this, on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, basis until it's grown to its full potential. And then even when it's grown to its full potential, you still gotta take care of it because it's a lot. It's a living organism. And that's how you gotta think about your business. It's a living organism. If you don't take care of it, ain't nothing gonna come out of it. So, like I've been saying as well too, make sure y'all check out, our From the Mud collection. We got, street luxury apparel pieces for men, women, and kids available. Make sure you go check it out on our website. We also got the spoken word album available on all streaming platforms, along with the poetry book, ebook, and print available on all book platforms and even in your local library as well too. So make sure you tap in. Make sure you keep showing love. I know, the slide's a little bit shorter than normal, but, try and gain my strength back for the week. And, I'm going to catch y'all tomorrow on the next stream. Keep visualizing, and, I'm out.